Good evening, attendees. I'm glad to share with you one of the timely webinars amidst the pandemic. Incidentally, October is Cybersecurity Month, and at the same time, it's Filipino History Month. The presentation will focus on the protection of internet-covered systems such as hardware and data from cyber threats. I'm Michael San Juan, your moderator, and one of the officers of the University of the Philippine Alumni Association of the DC, Virginia, and Maryland area. To all the attendees, welcome to one of the sponsored events of the organization for this year. House rules, all microphones are muted to prevent feedback. Please reserve your questions during the question and answer forum, and please use the chat box. I'll give you a brief overview. There will be a brief introduction, presentation, question and answer, message from the president, and announcements. Our guest speaker is a software developer, a cybersecurity professional. He has held roles in the IT and finance for various companies, government, and nonprofit organizations. That includes the House of Representatives and the Department of Defense. He is an adjunct professor teaching IT class for Montgomery Community College and an IT consultant for small to medium businesses. He has a bachelor's degree in University of North Carolina in Pembroke and a master's degree in Marymount University. He has a lot of certification and accreditations on his record. So definitely he's the right person for this presentation. Without further ado, please help me welcome our speaker, CJ Fulkerson. CJ, you have the floor.
Hello, everybody. Let me just set up sharing. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so the presentation today, Cybersecurity Fundamentals and Everyday Applications. I'm Christopher Fulkerson. You can see my credentials there after he already mentioned it. And let us begin. So just to let you know, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'd also like to say that my opinions and the information that I share are my own. They do not represent that of the upaadcmdva. Anything that I happen to mention or endorse, this comes from my personal and professional experience, and this isn't part of a paid programming or advertisement or anything like that. So with that out of the way, I bet that you've heard the common messages for cybersecurity, which are to keep strong, unique passwords, maintain updates on your devices, don't do private or personal stuff, don't do personal or private stuff on public Wi-Fi, and don't go to porn or pirating sites. However, I'm going to be going over some more in-depth basics about cybersecurity in the modern world, and they will cover different categories such as the physical device protection, cyber electronic security, identity protection, and real-world security. So beginning the basics of cybersecurity, it's good to know that the cyber world bleeds into the real world. Vectors of attack include email, documentation, physical media, phone calls and emails, and social engineering and people. So to begin with, we'll talk about physical device security. The first thing to know is that devices are only as secure as they are physically. You're going to have a very strong firewall on your device, but all it takes is physical access, and eventually that device will fail. So safely home is a false sense of safety. You have to remember or think about that a lot of people will come into your home, not just family and friends, but perhaps and COVID has reduced that. But think about, maintenance people, especially for your Wi-Fi network. They come into your home and they have access to some of your equipment. So you always have to bear that in mind. Now with that, don't plug foreign devices into your computer. And by that, I mean the electronic devices of other people. If they bring it into your house, don't plug it into your computer to charge, and try and limit allowing it onto your computer. The reason for that is USB is a very good vector for malware, and it can easily pass stuff from USB drive or USB connector to USB on the computer. And if you have to charge your mobile devices, try to use the wall. That way you don't have to worry about any viruses going in between them. That's especially true about personal or work computers and devices and vice versa. Don't mix the two of them. Now, to protect your computer, first thing you should do is back up onto a physical external drive. That way your data will always be protected in case anything happens to your computer, like a virus, ransomware, or having your drive fail. They'll always be here. Don't connect it to the computer all the time. Disconnect it when it's not in use so that it's protected and blocked off from anything happening to your computer. You can use the cloud for less important documents only. I'm sure you've heard about the iCloud leaks that have happened in the past. You can use it for backup. I know Apple supports that, but use it for less important stuff you wouldn't worry about losing in case your account is compromised. Also, set up a guest account for yourself and for others. So if you're going to have a common shared computer, or even just your everyday computer, set up a guest account for yourself so that anything administrative can't be easily accessed by you or any programs you run. Likewise, if you set up a guest account for others on that computer, it also regulates them and keeps them from accessing the base administrative functions on the computer. Now, to protect your computer, first thing to know is lock it up. And what I mean by that is anytime you get up to leave your computer, lock it. It's a good practice to be in, whether at home or especially at work. Lock your computer when you leave it. Also, make it so that the computer automatically locks the screen after about maybe 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. That way, no one can get on without a password. Also, if it's a common use computer in your house, if you and the kids or other people use it, put it in a common area. So you would be able to supervise them if anyone gets on your computer. That way, people, and this also goes for if your computer is going to be worked on. If some technician comes to your house and works on your computer, watch them. That way, it's much harder for them to do something. Remember, you trust these people you don't know. Now, to protect your mobile device, same thing, lock the screen. Set up a 10 to 15 seconds timeout on the screen so that it will automatically lock, because you remember this thing is on the move, so it can be picked up by anyone really quickly. And use a non-common PIN or password. It used to be that you could only use 4 numbers. Now you can use 6 for the PIN number. That's 100 times more protected than a 4-number PIN. You can also use standard letter and number passwords as well, and that's much harder to crack than even the 6 digits here. Also, turn off AI when your phone is locked. So if you have Hey Siri on, make sure you turn it, there's a setting so you can make it so it doesn't listen to you whenever the device is locked. Because sometimes Siri picks up other people and you don't want Siri to unlock something without your permission. Now, furthermore, for protecting your mobile device, if it's not in your pocket, remote lock it. I know Apple and I believe Samsung and Google also have it on their phones where you can track the phone, and if it happens to get stolen, you could log into an account, either iCloud or something else, and you can lock the phone remotely so that people cannot get into it until you unlock it with your password. Furthermore, you can also erase the phone remotely. So if it's really sensitive and you need to make sure that it's safe, erase it. Also, turn your Bluetooth onto non-discoverable mode. I've had it before where people tried to send me naughty pictures and I'm in a common area because my Bluetooth was on. That gets really annoying and you don't want to see those naughty things. So turn on non-discoverable mode. Now, another thing, protect your router. This is the base station of your internet in your house. You want to make sure that it's safe. The first thing you should do is make sure you keep routers hidden from plain view. There are a couple of reasons for this. The first one is that if people have physical access to your router, they can plug something in and get on your internet. The other thing is that you have the default password on there. Now, you should change this anyway, because you don't want anyone to look at your router, be able to sign on to the Wi-Fi and get on without your permission. Change the network name, change the password. When you're setting up your internet, also make sure that you're using the latest encryption. It's either WPA2 or WPA3. WPA3 is the latest, but I don't know if a lot of devices are still on WPA2 because that's so new. Don't use WEP. Use either WPA2 or 3. Those are the secure ones, preferably 3. And disable the feature Universal Plug-and-Play Protocol on your router. This allows easier communication between your devices on the network, which can be useful in some instances, but also allows for viruses to get around much more quickly if they get on your network. Now, signs to look out for. If you see something, usually you would say something, but in this case, see something, take it to the repair shop. If your computer is slowing down, have it looked at. If you see programs disappearing or appearing without your permission, have it looked at. The reason is because it's either a virus that could be acting on your computer or your hard drive could be failing. Luckily for you, you have the external hard drive, so you should be able to recover in case you should be able to keep your data safe, but have that computer looked at. Also, webcams aren't always obvious. I know computers have had them for over a decade, phones likewise, but you can see here where I have a post-it note on the webcam of my computer. Be aware I can see that little light that tells me it's on, but not everyone has that. Your phone also will tell you what is using your camera. Be aware of that, know it, and take proper precautions because you don't want someone to just look at you on with your camera without your knowledge. Now, disposal. Bear in mind your trash is the other people's gold. That's not just the device itself, but the information on it. So to dispose of your devices, the big thing is the memory. Now on computers, most old computers and even a lot of new computers use hard disk drives. These drives use if you'll observe, it has this design on the outside. That's how you can tell what it is. And you have to know that this is where the memory is, this circle right here. You have to know that because in order to make sure that data is properly deleted, you have to destroy it. To properly sanitize this drive, you drill holes right through there, 2, 3 holes, go through that circle area and hit those disks. Now, if you don't have a drill or you're not, you don't trust it, beat it with a hammer. Everyone has hammers. It's an easier way for you to get it. Just make sure you destroy that disk. There are going to be numerous ones in there. Destroy those disks. Now, another form of memory that we use now is solid state drives and also flash drives. They're kind of similar in concept. They store memory on data chips. You don't know which chip has the memory, just take it to a shredder. And first off, you can encrypt it and throw away the key. If you encrypt it without the key, it would be impossible to recover the data. But if you don't feel safe with encrypting, shred the drives. Take them to a local office store or figure out what someone that can shred it. You can also take it to the EPA. Now, mobile devices, how to get rid of those. Basically, there are settings on there for you to completely erase the data. Because they're already encrypted, erasing the data is pretty effective on the most up-to-date devices. If you don't feel safe with that, or if there is something extremely sensitive there, recycle. Take it to there should be places near you. If you're not sure where to take a mobile device to be recycled, check the EPA website. But erasing it should allow it to be completely erased through those settings. So on to cyber and electronic security. I'm not sure if you've heard of this term, the Internet of Things. This is the big thing now. This is why we're moving to 5G, because it's going to be such a strain on the internet. 31 billion devices this year alone. 75 billion by 2025, according to Cisco. Almost everything now is beginning to connect to the internet. So this is a non-exhaustive list. As you can see, a lot of different things are beginning to connect to the internet. So bear in mind that everything needs to be able to communicate and has software. The reason that this is something to know is because there are dangers with it. These devices can be stepping stones. Let's look at this baby monitor here. Some malware can get onto it if it's not up to date, and it can survey your network. These things can record your traffic if the right people get into that device. It can also send viruses to other computers. A virus comes in, gets there, and then goes to your other computers on the network. It can also record your house. If it's a camera, it can observe everything, and that stream can be recorded by other people that you don't want recording it. What you should do is to do your homework. A good place to start is to look at name brand security, smart devices, or security cameras. This here is a Blink. So this is a Amazon subsidiary, and they try and keep it up to date. Nest is also another big name. Don't buy the $20 camera at Walmart. It's probably not going to be kept up to date because you have to get secure with a password and that will be in the owner's manual. It's something that you should do out of the box. Also allow for automatic updates because updates are constantly pushed to these things whenever vulnerabilities are found. And it's just best to keep it as up to date as possible. Also, put these devices on a guest network. Most routers nowadays allow for a guest network to be set up. If you put all of your smart devices on that, it's less likely that anything bad on them can get onto your computers on your primary network. So on to just general security online as well. To protect yourself online, the first thing to bear in mind is HTTPS for important websites. You see HTTPS right there? Look at that S. That lets you know that there's there's an information tunnel between you and CapitalOne.com. There was no S, just HTTP, you wouldn't be protected. But this, and you can look at that little lock right there. You can click on that and see what the certificates are, but that lets you know that you're protected. Once you're signed in, set up multi-factor authentication. This allows, this would be where Capital One will send a code to your phone or to your email address that you would then put in as a second step in signing in. So it would really help. Let's say your username and password gets taken by someone out in the world. If they sign in, an alert is sent to your phone, hey, you're signing in, here's your code. And then you would know someone's signing in and that person couldn't get in themselves. Now, make sure you use secure passwords. You see here, I use symbols, numbers, upper and lower case. Or you can use a passphrase. That's an easy to remember phrase that you can use to sign in. Don't hack me. That's a very long password. It's rather safe. Don't use that because I told you, but use something similar that it's easy to remember and it's nice and complicated. Now, another thing to protect yourself online, use a password manager. You have to think that you should use unique device passwords for each site that you use and each bank account. And it's a lot to handle. Don't write it down, use a password manager. There are very safe ones out there, and try not to use a free one because you don't know where they are, but do your homework. Make sure that, and avoid using the password manager built into the browser. Now, I know Google Chrome does that, but the thing is that could be hacked as well. Try and get a standalone one, and that will help make these passwords a lot easier to manage. Now, don't pirate software. Don't go there because you don't know where that software is coming from. That software has been cracked. You don't know what else has been done to it. It could be malicious, and you don't need to anymore, not in this day and age. Don't download software into your phone. Oh, another thing is your service provider actually has to report you if it sees you pirating software. So that's the other thing. It's a legal problem. You're going to get caught. Now, don't download software to your phone from outside of the App Store. There's a reason that Apple and Google have their app places. It's because they vet the software and make sure that it's safe. So don't go outside of it, and you shouldn't need to anymore. There's so much on there. And don't jailbreak or root your device. That's, again, you don't really need to. There's a lot of functionality. It's much safer if you don't crack all the security protections that entails. Now, on software, always make sure to manage to the permissions that your apps have. If you look here, this is where you would do it on mobile devices. Windows also does this. It makes sure that the applications, like all of your applications, can't access your camera. You don't need your calendar apps to do that. And keep the minimum amount of apps on your device. You don't use that many on a day-to-day basis. Take out most of what you don't need. It's less to keep track of and less of less of a exposure to malicious apps. All right, so we have social media now. You can see here that these people are very happy on vacation. And this guy is very happy they're on vacation too. Now remember that social media is just that. It's social. It's designed to share your information. Whatever you post, it's supposed to be out there. It's supposed to be shared. Now remember that, because oversharing, don't click and tell. If you go on vacation, you're telling everyone that you're on vacation. Save it for when you get home so that someone doesn't happen to see it, either because you're tagged on the post or a friend of this robber here sees that you're there. Do it when you're home, and you don't have to worry about people knowing that you're in Bermuda while they can come to your house. Now, social media, less is more. Privacy settings are key. Set up as stringent of privacy settings as you can. They're there. They do change from time to time, so keep on top of it. But check those privacy settings on Facebook and the other places. Also, watch out for fake or duplicate friends. If you think you've befriended Kevin before and you see him again, check to make sure that account isn't a fake one. People do that. They set up fake accounts on people on Google, on Facebook, and try and befriend different people for various reasons. Now, social media and email, you do have an activity history. First thing, location, location, location. Check at the bottom of your email services, and you'll see last account activity and details. You click on that, you can see that someone's been logging into your email account. In my case, from Maryland. I know that those are my apps in my browser, so I know that I'm safe right now. If that happens to be somewhere that you're not, then you might want to change your password or take measures against it. Now, for what are you doing? You have to, there are activity logs as well. So on Facebook, you can see if someone or yourself you can see your search history. If you're under activity log and you start seeing searches for people that you don't remember doing, you might want to change your password. Check the trash. Check the trash to see if you've accidentally deleted emails from time to time, but also check to make sure that someone else or something else hasn't been deleting your emails and trying to hide something from you. Now, social engineering. This is the use of social measures to sway a human into doing what someone else wants. This is probably the biggest problem for cybersecurity, because humans are the weakest link. No matter, you can always update a computer. You can't update the human. You can try, but there's no guarantee, and humans can be predictable. So there are ways to go and hack into humans, if you want to call it that, ways to trick you. That's to appeal to your greed. I'm sure you guys remember the Nigerian print scam from a few years ago. That was so effective because people thought that they were going to get money for helping that guy out. Well, no, they were just giving money to someone behind a fake account. Appeal to your fear. They'll make you think that if you don't do something soon, something bad will happen. So they rush you and try and get you to act irrationally. Let's say that someone calls you from out of state and they say let's say your kid. Someone pretends to be your kid calling from out of state. They say they need help. They make you fear for your kid. Now, appeal to authority. Someone might call you. Someone might pretend to be there from the IRS and that you need to make a payment or you're going to jail as soon as possible. You don't want to go to jail, so you'll pay them, and you're actually paying someone fake. And they'll appeal to human kindness. Once when I was working at a bank, I was called by someone trying to access an account, and they said they were from out of the country and they desperately needed money. Their stuff was stolen. Well, it was against the rules, and I couldn't help them, but they tried to act as pitiful as possible to appeal to my human side and make me think they need help right now. Now, the countermeasures to this, always take your time. No one is in such dire need of your resources that you can't take the time to think about, okay, should I ask some questions about this? What's going on? That being said, verify their identity. There was one time that Maria was called from someone trying to be the Social Security Administration. When she asked them, okay, so what building are you from? They couldn't answer that. Okay, what's your ID? Because they can provide their ID for verification. They couldn't answer that either. They hung up. It turned out that was a fake scam, just trying to get information from you or your Social Security number. And be careful with email attachments, especially exe files. Those are programs, and if you see that on an email, don't click on it because it's going to run and it possibly infects your computer with something. Furthermore, don't click on links in an email, and that's going to segue into this. This is an email from supposed Amazon right here. Now, this is the really big problem in social engineering. Phishing. It's the entrapment through real-looking communication, such as emails or messengers from people of supposed interest. You see this hyperlink here? It's telling me I should update my valid billing address or provide a valid billing address. Well, I want Amazon to work for me, so why wouldn't I click on it? But I hover to discover. I check that link or any link sent to me. And if you see here, your web browser will let you know what will generally show the link, the URL that link goes to. And I see here, this is fake. It's fake.com. I don't want to go there. I want to go to Amazon. Instead, if you get these kinds of alerts, if you want to be sure, go on your Amazon account yourself separately from this in a different tab and check for yourself. Never go through the emails because they don't do that. They know that there's the risk involved. Now, the thing about phishing, you can see here that why is it so dangerous? Well, as you can see, it's subtle. It's supposed to make you think that this is safe. It's food or something. And then once you're close enough, this angler fish goes and eats you. Data can be used to access accounts. The thing is that at the very beginning, they use a little bit of what they know about you or just use social cues to make you give up information. And they build on that. And they make you think that they're friendly. Well, they're not, because that data they get can be used for other social engineering attacks. They could use it to answer your secret questions on email accounts or bank accounts, or just do something like this. Now, this is a business here, but the concept applies for targeting towards you as well. You gather information, or like this person, they gather information on this business. Someone gathers information on you. Maybe you're a dog lover. They start to email you. They show you pictures of dogs or something like that. They get your trust. Eventually, they email you about a service or this nonprofit. Hey, you want to give money to go and protect the dogs? All right, then, you like that. You go and you do a monthly subscription or something. You send them money, or they need a lot of money. You send that money over to them. They run off with the money. No dogs are saved. It's not worth it. Now, moving on to website verification. Here I am looking to register a business in Maryland. I go and do a Google search. Now, if you notice on the right, you have to confirm the sites you visit that they have the right name. I'm doing a business in Maryland. That means I should go to a .gov email right here, maryland.gov. And the reason is it's a government website. It's always a .gov webpage. Don't trust these ad things right here. You don't know who they are. I mean, LegalZoom's probably okay, but you're also going to pay much more money going through LegalZoom than actually doing it through the website itself. Or, other duties that you do, maybe get another driver's license. You don't need to go through LegalZoom for that. Go directly to the website, and you save a lot on registration fees, and you don't get your information out there. Likewise, watch your Google results. As I said, look at these ads. Try and avoid those, because sometimes you might not notice it, and you click on those instead. You might compromise yourself and give your data to someone you don't want to. Now, look at what we have here. I was surfing the internet, and this alert came up. Now, don't trust these. Don't trust these pop-ups, or if it redirected you. It says I have 8 viruses, but the thing is, Apple's not looking on the internet for your viruses or to see if you've got anything. Don't trust this stuff. Don't even click close. Because even though it says you're infected, you're not yet. If you click on any of that, it initiates an action, and it will try and download onto your device. What you want to do is you close it. You click there and close the tab, or you close your browser altogether, cancel out, and then go back in on whatever you're doing, continue on your day. Now, social engineering protections. You have to remember that a lot of data is out there, so Google yourself. The thing is that you should see what exactly is publicly accessible, because there is a lot of data that is common knowledge, arrest records, traffic tickets. Because of that, you want to get ID shields on your own. They will monitor your data, make sure nothing's being opened without your permission. You also want to use VPNs That keeps you from being spied on by other people, maybe in your network, or even your service provider. And you can also watch foreign shows in other countries through that VPN. Now, identification protection. You want to keep your data to yourself. And what I mean is, here's an example. Social security numbers are stolen in more than 70% of hospital data breaches. Hospitals have a lot they need to do, and they do get hacked from time to time. That makes me say that don't give more information to them than you need to, especially not social security numbers. You actually don't have to give that to the hospital, and you don't need to put yourself out there. In fact, don't share more than you need to anyone. Make sure that you only give what they need, and social security is not included on that. There are no laws saying they need that. Now, paper documents. Paper documents are still a part of our life, even with our electronic world. Let's look at examples of this. Doctor's reports, statements, receipts, bills, anything with sensitive information. With that in mind, let's also look at specific information, PII, such as social security number, driver's license, biometrics, PHI, medical bills, laboratory results, medical records. These are different pieces of information about yourself you don't want out there, because that can be used to open accounts in your name or take advantage of you some way. Instead, what you want to do, manage and only keep vital documents. So go through it. If you don't need it, then what you're going to do is shred any unneeded documents. And when you shred with a cross-cut shredder. Don't make these little long lines that people can relatively put together. Make it small. Now, mail. Mail is paper too. Yeah, I know that, or you know that. But mail moves. That's what you have to remember about it. And protection, e-statements. Try and make as much electronic as possible. That way it doesn't go to your mailbox. If you're going to get it, at least get it electronically. If you're going to get a mailbox, try and get a mailbox with a lock. That way no one can get into your mailbox and steal your mail before you do. Also, collect your mail daily. Sometimes you don't want your mail taken for personal information security. Now, looking at credit freezes, if you can, freeze or lock your credit. There are different aspects to both of those. Make it so that someone can't open an account without your permission. Also, try and use a fraud alert. That way, if something does happen, you will know. Finally, real-world security. Just a reminder about social engineering. Humans are the weakest link. And with that, we'll look into phone scams, because this applies in the real place. Don't trust just anyone on the phone. And this is particularly true for older people. The reason is because you can't hear as well on the phone, they can't hear as much on the phone. They're not able to distinguish people. And with that, that makes them more susceptible to things like grandkid scams, where someone pretends to be their grandkids and gets money out of them, or other different scams that are out there. So be aware of that and protect yourself accordingly. Another type of phone scam, another thing to look at is you're going to get alerts from time to time, scam likely. Yes, the service providers do that for you. It's not foolproof, but if you see that, decline, or just let it go to voicemail. Other protections you can do, avoid unknown numbers. Sometimes you just get an unknown number. Don't answer it, because it could record your voice and use it to try. A lot of banks use voice imprinting. They listen to your voice and they determine that it's you. If these bad people record your voice, they can try and get in through that and bypass it. The number might also be international. The Caribbean and Canada have similar numbers. And if you answer that, you might get long distance charges. So just as a reminder, send it to voicemail. Don't call. Also, there's the do not call list. It's a government run thing. So you might want to take advantage of that to help reduce the amount of trouble you receive. And any fake or scam SMSs, forward them over to 7726, which spells out spam on the little keyboard. Now, real world protections, be aware of card skimmers. I'm going to show you this right here. Now you see this ATM, maybe you don't know, this happens on gas station pumps as well, that you put your card in. Anytime you come across someplace you put your card, give it a little tug. You see what he's doing right now? He's pulling on it a little and it comes free. And so this would be able to read your card and send the information to someone else, and they have your card number and can do it. Now that one doesn't have it. He just gives it a little bit of a push. So be aware of that. The other thing is with bank services, a lot of them do offer web scanning. They'll look for your information on the internet and tell you if your password's been compromised on different accounts. They also have, some do offer temporary card numbers. These are virtual numbers that are different from your actual card. It can be used once. If the vendor that you're buying something from gets hacked and your cards get stolen, it won't be usable anymore. So that's an extra layer of security there. Now, shoulder surfing is fun only for criminals. Remember this, because if you're out and you're typing on your phone, people might be reading your what you're doing. It helps a little bit to have a privacy screen. This will make it so it's harder to see from the side. So look into that. And then it prevents card skimming up close with a protective wallet. There are wallets out there that can prevent reading of your card from a distance. Now on our final slide, remember the children. Set up parental accounts on your children's devices. So you see right here, you can do some downtime and app limits. There's the COPA, Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Be aware of that. It protects the privacy and safety of minors. And then explore technology with your kids. Remember, SOS, safe online surfing. Spend some time with them. You spend time with your kids, you learn from them, they learn from you. It's an all-around great experience. There's a win-win scenario to that. Here are some other additional resources. And with that, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, CJ. I'd like to remind everyone to please use the chat box for some of your questions. So I have a list of questions here right now. Let me start with one question from Maria. Maybe you need to clarify this. The question here is ransomware. Should you pay? I'm not clear about this. Devices, do you turn it off, leave it on? Who knows? So Maria, why don't you go ahead and clarify that question?
So when you get ransomware, do you have to pay for it?
So if you get ransomware on your computer, the FBI recommends not paying for it. There are various sources like the FBI site you can go to confirm where you can go to try and solve the problem. But they maintain that paying for ransomware, one, it doesn't necessarily mean your computer will be unlocked, but two, it also encourages them to keep doing it in the future. So seek out help if you get ransomware, don't pay for it.
Okay, thank you, CJ. Now, there's a question here. Any recommendations for a very good antivirus software? And what would be the acceptable cost for it? Because there's so many out there.
There are pretty good free additions out there. I use Sophos. The reason that, and I'm on a Mac and I use Sophos. There are other free options out there like Bitdefender. And I've heard, I haven't checked lately on Kaspersky, but I've heard that I think ESTS and Norton is also provided by service providers. So there are a variety of options out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, there's some virus, some software that's absolutely free.
There are. Yeah, and if you're going to use a free one, make sure to investigate it first, because there are a couple of good free ones out there. Malwarebytes offers a free option, and I think Bitdefender. Sophos is also free, and I'll let you know that they make most of their money through business deals and protecting businesses. That's why it's free. So if you're wondering why that was. And yeah, those are some of the free options. Investigate before you do anything, but yeah.
Okay. So I have a question here from Jesse Wolgamori. What's a good app for a password manager?
I've heard 1Password, and I actually haven't checked on the other ones because the thing you have to remember with those is unlike the antivirus, you don't want to necessarily trust the password protectors that are free. 1Password does have a monthly subscription, but this is really important. So you should be willing to pay for it if you're going to use something like that.
So what's an acceptable
1Password.
monthly subscription?
I'd have to double check on 1Password because I can't remember if it was $30 a month or $30 for every 6 months.
Okay. So I mean, if you could get back to
But-
us and maybe we could share that information to our listeners or to the attendees. Now, a very important question is, what about Zoom? Like a lot of people have problems with Zoom that they pose a security risk. What are your thoughts about it?
I wouldn't use Zoom for work or for, especially, well, the government doesn't even use Zoom for its teleconferences. The last I remember is that data is still does still go through China. Okay, I'm sorry. It seems the government does use it now. So maybe I did see that there are some encryption settings, some advanced encryption settings for Zoom now. So maybe it is, it doesn't have those problems anymore.
What are your thoughts
on-
about
Okay.
other social media platforms like TikTok? They were saying it's also a risk, like it comes playful, but then at the end there are some repercussions installing TikTok and doing those videos.
I wouldn't recommend using TikTok or any other. In general, you have to know that these social media sites do collect a lot of information. They run it, even Facebook runs it through AI, and they build a profile on you. And even if you're not on on Facebook, it does build a profile on you based on what other people post. So with that in mind, if it's concerning that an American company would build that on you, think about a company that has data servers in China and that is answerable to China. That was the big problem or big thing they were concerned about. I know that Oracle is supposed to be looking at purchasing the American branch of it, but even then, I wouldn't necessarily trust it until well after the dust settles.
Now for VPN, you mentioned about VPN, so that people could not monitor what site there's any recommendation for a good VPN?
It wasn't NordVPN. Well, first thing about VPNs are that you might not want to you might not want to invest in a free VPN, because if they're going to be protecting your privacy, you want them to be able to have an incentive to keep you private. And there are always vulnerabilities found. There are vulnerabilities found throughout the year on these things. So you want someone who's going to be able to respond quickly. Now, ExpressVPN, I heard, is one of the best out there. NordVPN did have a problem recently, but they've also had high marks. Oh, what was that?
What's the typical cost for it? It's a subscription for VPN, the VPN that you mentioned.
I think ExpressVPN is $10 to $15. $15 to $30 a month, depending on the plan.
Okay.
The other thing is, if you're going to get a VPN, also verify if they have logging on their VPNs. So if they track your usage of it or not, because that's something else they do. Even if they keep back-end logs, there's also always the possibility that information could get out. So be aware of that if you're using it to send private information, or if you're trying to hide what you're doing.
A while ago, when you mentioned accessing your wireless network, there are some selections, WPA2, WPA3. You strongly suggested to go for WPA3. What's the difference? It's more like, is it an upgrade or what?
It is. So WPA3 is the latest version of that specific form of protection. I don't remember if there are vulnerabilities for 2 the viable vulnerabilities. I think there are vulnerabilities to it, but it requires supercomputers. But they want to make sure that this is future-proof. So it's just now rolling out, and I'm saying that if you don't have 3 available, use 2, and if you have it, use 3. And I don't know if there are compatibility issues as well, but the big thing is I don't think WPA1 even shows up, but don't use WEP. That is the oldest, and it's not secure anymore.
Okay. I got a question from Jesse, but unfortunately I wasn't able to see it. So why don't we put Jesse Walgamori online right now? And please, Jesse, can you clarify your question for CJ?
Okay, so CJ, you talked about checking your email activity history. And you said to go down to the bottom of your settings or something like that. I didn't quite catch, like, what do I need to do now? Whether it's Outlook or Gmail.
So on Gmail, you have something at the bottom right corner of the page. If you scroll all the way down, it'll let you know when the last login activity was. And then if you click on the little link there, it'll also tell you more details about the last few sessions that have logged into your account. And it'll even tell you if it's an app that signed in or if it's a browser. On Outlook, I'm less familiar with it. So I would have to look and get back with you about what settings are available on Outlook.
Thank you, CJ. So we have a question from Lisa Virata. Some Filipino Americans open their cell phones so that they can switch the SIM cards when they visit the Philippines. Any comments on that practice? Is it safe? Is it advisable?
Now, by opening the cell phones, is that doing a jailbreak of it?
I guess so, you know.
If it's breaking through the security measures that are on the phone, then I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it. But be advised that breaking through the security protections is not, of course, it's not safe. It leaves the phone open to other people or other code getting into your phone and getting exposure to all the functions on it.
And another thing,
sorry.
Another thing, a lot of people, they prefer unlocked phones that they could switch providers. Is that something I've run into that? Like people would sell me unlocked phones. If I'm a T-Mobile carrier, they said I could switch it with Verizon. Any comments on that?
So that's different than jailbreaking. I was going to say the other thing is jailbreaking could void the warranty because they're really upset. They don't like that. But unlocking the phones is different. So if it's where you go to the carrier, or I think you go to the carrier, you ask for them to open the phone, and they will just work something on the back end and allow it to be used on other carriers. And that's something on the server side of it. It's not necessarily on your phone. Because the Verizon, T-Mobile, and I forgot the other carrier, they use the same frequencies and same type of equipment. That's why those phones can talk to it. Now, if it was on, I think, Sprint, I forget which carriers don't have SIM cards, but those are on a different technology, and that's why it can't connect. Unless it's a universal phone, it wouldn't be able to connect to the ones with the SIM cards.
And for the benefit,
unless they're changing it in 5G. What?
So for the benefit of the listeners, the reason why I brought that up is because somebody would sell me unlocked phones, but they wanted to sell it to me. However, if I have Verizon, it wouldn't work with Verizon. And if I have another connections with T-Mobile, I could use it. So that's why I was kind of like not happy about that one. Although there's a good discount on the new phones. So just to let you know where I'm coming from. Any other questions from the attendees? What do you think of Best Buy Geek Squad? Is there a lower price alternative? That's one of the questions, CJ.
I'm not exactly familiar. I haven't used Geek Squad. Because I'm on the Apple network, you can try and use the vendor. So through HP or Dell or whoever you got your computer from, and they might offer competitive pricing and be able to, they should know how to work your computer. Also be aware of the warranty options that your computers can come with. On Apple, because they're locking down so much, Apple Care is relatively cheap. It's cheaper than getting anything repaired on an Apple, so you'd want to look into that and buy it. And then Apple is actually really good. They'll replace your computer if something's wrong with it and they can't fix it. But
Okay.
that's where most of my experience would be.
And aside from, you mentioned during your presentation, the type of cyber crimes, what would you consider as the top 5 popular cyber crimes? I think phishing, identity theft, right?
Definitely phishing, ID theft. Phishing would be up there, and phishing can be broken down into if you hear the vishing, which is through the video, like teleconferencing. I forgot what the other ones were. I think there's a phone type. It can, depending on the medium, it has different names. And there are also targeting ones where they would target you specifically and use your information rather than general phishing.
Okay.
Other things are, the email, sending emails with bad attachments, although I don't think that's as common now, or trying to trick you into thinking that they're tech support. So I don't know if you have ever seen about the people who say that they're tech support and they're trying to get into your computer, and they ask you to install something so they can get on your computer. Ransomware is another big problem. Yeah. Ransomware is another big problem where if you accidentally install it, or if it gets on your computer somehow, it'll encrypt your computer and then demand that you pay money for it.
Right.
And that's the one that, if you get it on your computer, don't pay it. Try and go through the FBI, and back up from a different hard drive. Really, you should back up your stuff just in case something happens. That way, all you lose is, actually, you can reset the hard drive and you should be okay.
Okay. Now, if there aren't any more questions from the attendees. 1, 2, okay. Okay, so this one's from Lisa. Thank you, CJ, for your presentation. Will you be sharing your slides with the attendees? Are you open to providing us a copy of your slides?
Yes, we'll work on that after the call. Okay. I think the video is going to eventually be accessible.
And I already got a reply. Yes, they will be emailed. Now, if there aren't any more questions, let's hear a brief message from the president of the University of the Philippines Alumni Association. Please help me welcome Ms. Jessie Wolgamotti.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting our webinar again. This is our, I don't know, maybe fourth, fifth webinar for this year. And we hope to maybe do one more before the year ends, hopefully. And we want to thank CJ. Thank you, CJ, for a very informative webinar. I read this quote on the internet: the #1 benefit of information technology is that it empowers people to do what they want to do. Unfortunately, it empowers the bad people to do what they want to do. So all these things that CJ has shared with us are really very helpful. It's always hard to keep track of all these little things, but it's good to update ourselves and keep ourselves informed. In the time of COVID, where everyone's doing Zoom calls, and as a speech language pathologist working in the public schools, I do all my work online, and we are even more vulnerable to all these malware and malicious information out there. And speaking of technology, upaadcmdva is still raising funds for Kaagapay UP. This is a fundraiser for the students of all the campuses of the University of the Philippines, and we are raising funds for them to have access to gadgets, laptops, and internet service for them to be able to engage in online learning. So if you are able to help or share the information with your friends, please do so. And Ria will post the link to that Kaagapay UP fundraiser in case you are interested. Thank you very much again. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Jesse. And as of today, we were able to raise $1,225 for Kaagapay UP. We are matching 1K in donations. So thank you, Jesse, for providing us an overview of what Kaagapay is. We also have masks available for purchase. Please submit your orders. I know Ria will be providing us a website. Ria, do you have that website right now? Do you have the actual website address? Or if not, we'll just forward it via email. Ria?
Yes.
So can you tell us about the website for the mask where they could order?
I just posted the link on the chat.
Okay, so I mean,
we'll
if I'm
send an
gonna,
email.
this is basically the link I have, but I think we could come up with a simpler website for this, but it's well, everything will be emailed to you, but please bear with me. It's https bit.ly/3IPMX1. So just wait for an email from us. We'll tell you where you could order your mask. And then on behalf of the University of the Philippines Alumni Association, thank you very much, CJ, for your wonderful presentation, and everyone for your continued support in all our events. We are ending in time. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a nice night. Good night.